ReefDudes is sponsored by Ecotech Marine and Bulk Reef Supply.
I'm not sure if it's just because I have a bit of a Ghani obsession lately or the NAS is my newest tank, but it's really got me thinking of how easy an LPS tank is, and is it, kind of your best happy medium for enjoyment versus work in a reef tank? What's going on, guys? Devin from ReefDudes. Now, I have been reefing for many years, and I have always done a mixed reef tank. It's like the only thing I know. Even my very first tank, from a weekend, it's turned into a mixed reef tank. Some people start off with like a softy tank, or some people do all acros, some people do all LPS. Mixing the two is definitely more challenging. But because that's all I've done, I don't know if it's just a new novelty, but I have a Ghani obsession lately, and it's kind of torches and Ghanis. But I have found this tank, once I got through the initial cycling and a few of the initial like ugly stage hurdles, to be such an easy, low maintenance tank. And for how much enjoyment and easy this tank is, it is pretty awesome. Like just the flow and all the colors of the Ghanis and the torches. And there's next to no maintenance, which is amazing. I wonder, is this the sweet spot? Or at least for, the current stage of my life, is the sweet spot for me? Like I'm taking a look at this tank and, all the movement, all the flow of the torches, all the crazy colors of the Ghanis. Like I am just obsessed with it lately. I really am digging it. There has been a few changes to the tank last week, and this has been honestly such an easy tank, and basically every coral has thrived in it. And I'm really digging it lately. Now you will see one of my latest additions. So I did add a copper band butterfly. They are one of my favorite fish, and I had to get one back in the tank. Partially because I have an Aiptasia problem, and partially because he's one of my favorite fish, and I think they're absolutely amazing. I have one in my water box that I've had for years and years. Now, you might notice there's someone missing from the tank, so I did take out my yellow tang. He was basically being a jerk to any new fish additions, so I traded him to the LFS, and he's now living in their display tank. And I also traded in my Melanaris. It was a bit of a hard decision because I've had those fish for so long. But at the same time, they were both causing chaos in the tank. And in my office tank, I really just want it to be like a nice, happy, peaceful tank. So we do have this new, beautiful copper band butterfly fish. And I also have a leopard wrasse coming that I'm going to add. Now I did trade my Melanaris because he was constantly flipping over my Ghanis. Almost every day I'd find another one upside down on the sandbed. And I really just didn't want to risk losing some of those really nice ones. So eventually he's out. He was getting very big. I've had that guy for 8 or 9 years. And it's kind of crazy. Now it is really crazy how you can have fish. Like some of the fish in my water box are probably, pushing, 18 to 20 years old. And, this clownfish is my first fish ever. So it's pretty cool to know that I've had this guy since, I don't even remember when I started reefing, but probably 12-ish years ago. I'll figure out the exact point later, but it's cool to know that he was in my very first reef tank. And he's upgraded through about 8 or 9 tanks throughout his lifetime with me. So, who knows how old he was when I originally got him. So it's really cool to see that you could have a fish, for pushing 20 years or more. Like it's crazy. These really are long-term pets. Now, as for the Ghani tank, this tank, I try and give it a water change, a 25, 30 gallon water change every, I'm going to say, trying to do once a month. So every like 4 to 6 weeks. That is the extent of the biggest part of the maintenance. Aside from that, I clean out the filter socks once in a while. That was another big one. I normally am a huge fan of filter rollers, but I decided to just try socks on here. And I'm using the mesh socks, so they don't clog up that fast. I got that and a skimmer, and that's pretty much it. As for the dosing, I do one single dosing head all for reef. It's been super duper easy. I've done one ICP test so far and done a few little tweaks, but overall things have been pretty close just from my, periodic water change and the alpha reef. And as you can see, the torches, the Ghanis, everything are really happy. So this has been a super duper simple system that's been working very well for me. Now on top of the copper band, we also do have the Bergia, which we will be adding. I did separate them a little bit out. If you saw my last update, I do have some living in this little container here, and I took out about 4 or 5 of them, put them into a separate container, and I put some of the eggs in here too, just because I noticed there was a lot of pods in the other container, and I do wonder sometimes if the pods will eat the eggs. It is possible, so I did suck some out and put them in here just to separate it, and I'll have kind of 2 different batches to do a bit of, cross-testing experiments and see how that goes. But overall, you can see these guys are devouring any Aiptasias I throw in here. For the Aiptasias too, I do have some that are in my sand bed, as you can see, mainly in that back corner, so they're really easy to pop them out and throw them in for the Bergia. And once I have my little babies turn to bigger ones, it'll be easy to throw a bunch in the tank, but I'm waiting till I have a bunch of babies in there so I know that my adults will, you know, do the thing in here, and then I can keep breeding them. I just broke down and added 3 duties to the tank. One of them still hiding in the little turkey baster tube because he did want to come out the flow, but he'll crawl out. But I turned off the flow, the MP40s, and I did put 3 in this little area just because there's a lovely little cluster of Aiptasia over here. So hopefully they'll start eating them and laying eggs in the tank. So there is a few monster Aiptasias in here that I'm definitely gonna have to deal with, but so far I think the copper bounce is going after the little ones, so probably be a mixture of the Bergia, and I'll probably get some more Aiptasia and hit them up later. But looking at the tank, like, I am just really digging it. I love all the torches, I love all the flowiness of it, and I think it's weird because I am so, you know, acro SPS addicted, but at the same time, you don't get all this flowiness as you do with all the LPS. And it's just like, it's a nice change. You know, we do have the one white-tailed bristled tooth or Tamini tang. That guy is my little tang in here now, since the yellow tang has been upgraded to a new home for him. Slightly bigger tank at the LFS, and mainly peaceful fish for this tank. And so far, none of my Ghanies has ended up on the sand bed. No other fish harassment, so overall things are pretty good. Honestly, aside from the Aiptasia, I think this tank is doing phenomenal. On previous videos, people were asking roughly how much par I'm running my Ghanies and my torches at, so I figured we'll do a quick par test just so I can answer that. The par meter has been found. If any of you guys have kids, you probably know the Hi Daddy's Toys game. Okay, so looking at my highest torch, he's getting around 250 to 280 bouncing around to the flow. If I come down to one of the higher Ghanies here, he's getting about 170. Come a bit lower. Funny enough, we're getting a bit higher. Getting 180, 170 to 190. You know, come over to this guy. Up here, he's getting around 215. This guy's getting around 230. This guy's getting around 210. If I come down to the sand bed over here, we're getting about 180. So, you know, I'd say overall in the tank, we're getting anywhere from about 150, 180 to about 220. It's probably about 20 or 30 par less when you put the mesh on it. So take that with you will. But 150 to 200 is probably roughly what everything's getting with the screen blacktop mesh on the tank. So it gives you kind of a good idea where everything's at. I do run it a little bit on the lower side just because Ghanies don't really need crazy high par. You know, looking at the torches, you know, some of those guys would probably get a little bit better color and higher par, but again, they still look awesome in the current par, so not overly worried about that one. So yeah, what do you guys think? You know, overall, I would say it's such a easy, flowy, colorful rainbow of a tank, and I absolutely just love it. Kind of curious your thoughts. What do you guys think? Do you prefer a mixed reef, you know, SPS only, LPS? You know, it's interesting. And over years of reefing, I think the biggest thing for me is it's something different from what I normally do. But I've also found this tank just to be crazy easy, which has been another great appeal with like the enjoyment, the flow, the interest versus the very minimal effort has been pretty awesome. But like anything, you know, the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. And yeah, love thy reef tank. Crazy thing that happened the other day, I was looking and one of my MP40s wasn't spinning. I was like, what the heck? And I saw something yellow inside, so I shined a flashlight in there, and my bicolor blenny was just chilling inside the power head. I don't know how he got in there, I don't know how he stopped it, but I popped the power head off, I turned it off, popped it off, he swam out no problem. I popped on a clean fresh one, turned back on right away. So it was kind of crazy to see. I don't know how the heck he did it. It seems pretty sketchy to me, but it's crazy stuff fish do. I'm hopefully getting a couple more Ghanies this week to further fill out the addition. You know, eventually I'm gonna run out of space, but I definitely still got a few good spots to fill up here. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this update on my LPS Dominant Reef Tank. And again, this is just such a easy, beautiful, flowy tank. It's a really good way to go. You know, if you're intimidated with acros, like, dig into the LPS. I really dig in. Just all the flow and movement in the tank is just so awesome. It's just such a nice contrast from the standard style of reef tanks that I'm used to. As always, if you guys got any questions on this, let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to pick up any of the gear on this tank and support the channel, be sure to check out the sponsored links in the description. Alright guys, I'll catch you guys on the next video.